This video on activity planning trains your entire team on what activities best optimize your optometric practice. In an optometric practice, the maximization of time and resources is critical to the success of that particular business. A lot of activity takes place within a practice, but activity does not necessarily mean accomplishment, correct? A question to always ask is what activities in a practice need to be done first that will ensure the targets of the team are achieved. This brings us then to the Pareto principle, and it can be explained as follows. 20% of your priorities will always give you 80% of your production if you spend your time, energy, money, resources, and of course your personnel on the top 20% of those priorities. Examples to better explain this principle are seen below, or as follows. Time, 20% of the time in your business produces 80% of the results. How is the time allocation for the following in your business or practice? Staff meetings, daily preparations, examination of people's eyes, medical aid validations and processing of claims, communication with clients, invoicing and ordering of particular spectacles, administrative requirements that need to be dealt with, cleaning of the practice. Another example, products. 20% of your products bring in 80% of the profits. What type of lenses are sold the most in the optometric practice? What type of lenses are sold the most in the optometric practice? Or lens extras, if I correct myself there. What kind of frames are sold the most by the practice? What kind of contact lenses are sold the most by the practice? Which promotions bring in the most amount of feet into the practice? Which days of the week are more busy as compared to the other days? And so those are some things that you have to be thinking about when it comes to products from a Pareto principle point of view. And so once you have the above information that we've just alluded to, which you can easily extract from the computer software that you are using in your practice, it will help you to plan constructively key components in your business that help drive the business going forward. All right, and so another example is the organization. We say here 20% of the people will be responsible for the 80% of the success. And so the question that is important for the optometric practice to answer is as follows. Are the right people put in the right place in order to do the right thing? Everything rises and falls on leadership. And so each person needs to function in a place where they add the most value in the practice. And so in order to increase the productivity of an optometric practice, the 20% that produces the 80% needs to be identified. And so to do this, the following three questions need to be asked. Question number one, what is required by the business? Question number two, what will give the biggest return for the business? And of course, question number three, what will bring the greatest reward for the people? And those are the three important questions that you need to be answering or asking as an optometric practice. And so to answer these questions that we have just alluded to, let's look at some examples. As a team, you can do this on a piece of paper and sit around and discuss it in your team. Divide your paper in 4 quadrants. Quadrant number 1 include things like high importance, high urgency. And what we mean by that is that immediate action is required. So if you think of the things that are highly important and highly urgent that require immediate action, what are some of those things? As an example, appointment bookings and confirmations, that's a priority because you want to fit in. And so knowing how to follow up on people, making sure that you are prepared for the people that have booked appointments. That's a very, very important aspect of the business that requires immediate attention. If someone picks up the phone who has been coming to your practice for the last 5 years and they say, "Hi, I'm Mrs. So-and-so. Is it possible to have my eyes examined tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock? And then you say, "Yes, ma'am." Before you go on the phone, 11 o'clock, can I just quickly pull out your file just to see if all the details that we have in the system are already still the same? Why are you waiting for 11 o'clock the next day for you to be checking if the details are still correct when that person comes in? That should be something that immediately that person has called you at that particular time. You pull up the file, "Ma'am, I see here you are this medical aid. Is it still the same details in the medical aid? Do you give us the go-ahead to confirm your optical benefits so that when you come in tomorrow, we know that everything is already done? That's a person that has been coming to the practice for the last 5 years. Why are you then waiting for that process to only be taking place tomorrow? If you're looking at the file and you can see, but wait a minute, they also, if your glasses or frame range is always put in different sections, and that particular individual has always been putting frames from that price range, why don't you already see that, okay, she prefers this brand, she prefers this style. Let me start getting some few ideas around the products that she usually uses. Check the benefits. Tell her that, no, we want to confirm the optical benefits, and we'll give you a call already before your appointment to tell you what the medical aid says. So create that environment that you can do things that can be done way before the patient arrives there with ease, so that when they come the next day, you are ready, you are prepared, everything has been detailed, that is already standard. You don't have to ask the patient, are the details still the same? And so if you are able to employ things like telehealth services in your business, if you need to be confirming anything that has changed, you can already do that the day before, so that on the day of the appointment, the focus is the examination and management thereof. Other things that are very, very important, which I made mention to in the previous example: medical aid validations and processing of claims, invoicing and ordering of jobs, store updates, target monitoring, planning of the business, or planning of the practice. And so those are things that are highly important, highly urgent, that require immediate action. Quadrant number 2 then, as a team, what you can then put in there is the activity there is high importance but low urgency. And we say here, it's part of the daily routine. Things like banking, following up on orders and people, age analysis of the practice, preparing for the day, staff development, business development. Those are things that should be happening on a day-to-day basis. Later on in the training, we show you how a weekly planner should actually look like, where you've got week 1, you're focusing on the whole purpose of the business. Week 2, you're focusing on the people. Week 3, it's all about staff training. Week 4, it's about product training. Week 5, it's about sales training. After that 5-week cycle, you repeat the whole process again. And so that is what you can use, or how you can sort of like structure the activities in your practice that would then be highly important but low urgency, where it's structured as part of the daily routine, that everyone knows, no, this week, this is the priority. This day, this is the priority. These are the things. This is the checklist of activities and things that we need to always be signing off on throughout the course of the day. And at the end of the day, we can be able to say, hey guys, did we achieve that which we set out to achieve today? And what was the challenges? What are the things that we need to be following up on? What are the things that we need to be double checking, and all of that? Then quadrant number 3, what you can then put there is the activity that we say here, it's low importance but highly urgent. What is the example here? It will be, you have to have someone that must be delegated to do this particular task. And so we've put your cleaning of store, service delivery checks, very, very important. It's urgent, but it's not as important as the other components. Communication and feedback with the different people, staff training, examination of people's eyes. You see, don't confuse the examination of the people's eyes with the planning of the examination of people's eyes. Those are 2 different things, because this one here, it's already scheduled. So it's someone who's going to be dedicated to do that, and that will be the optometrist, correct? Feedback reports. And so with every patient that you are examining, every person that you are providing a service or selling products to, you always have to get feedback reviews, so that you know that, okay, we are actually exceeding patients' expectations. These are the patient expectations. We are exceeding these expectations that people are coming in. This is what people are saying about our brand. This is what people are saying about our products. This is what people are saying about their experience, and so forth. And so you need to constantly have those feedback reports that you're constantly addressing. And someone has to be delegated to be following up on those activities, complaints that you're getting. Any form of communication between the patient and the practice needs to be dealt with by someone specific, and you can rotate that individual. And if you have a logbook or a system in place that you can track communication that is taking place between all parties involved in a particular practice, and what time of the day is it checked, how do you indicate important messages? How do you indicate messages that require immediate action and so forth? And so that's your low importance, high urgency activity block, where someone must be dedicated to be doing that particular task. The fourth component of your quadrant is then your low importance, low urgency. And time needs to be scheduled for this task to be done. That's what we mean by that. And things like stock taking, staff meetings. And so if you've got your weekly planner, there's the generalized staff meeting. We know of a practice that we worked with in the UK, whereby every morning or the start of each week, they've got the planner of the week. But before the business opens its doors to the general public, they just meet for like 10-15 minutes quickly to say, guys, check this, check this, check this, check this, check this. Are we all on board? Everyone okay? Everyone got you safe? And they start the day. It's very, very important that you have those regular short interval meetings, but you still also schedule time for the main meeting. Things that we have put here as well, liaisons with suppliers and service providers. This one is a tough one. It used to be in quadrant number 4 that we used to put here, customer satisfaction analysis. But with the way the world has moved, you always want to exceed expectations. So I would actually put customer satisfaction analysis in quadrant number 1, where it's highly important, high urgent, so that you're constantly analyzing the engagement between the patient and the practice all the time, between the customer and the practice, between the client and the practice. Very, very important, because that helps you be in a position where you can exceed expectations. And so I encourage you, sit together as a team and break it down in 4 quadrants in terms of what is highly urgent and highly important, what is highly important but not urgent, what is not important but highly urgent, and what is not important, not urgent, and how best to structure your practice according to that. So that's just a quick example of what you can do as a practice in making sure that you guys are all on the same page and you are achieving the necessary results that the business has set out for itself as targets on a day-to-day basis. The second component, so the first component was all about prioritization, right, as part of the activity planning. Now the second part here, we're dealing with the momentum strategy. Once your priority activities are in place, then you have to focus on momentum. And momentum in an optometric practice can either be the practice's best friend or its worst enemy, depending on whether it's broken or continuously built. Once a practice has established some form of momentum, it needs to ensure it does whatever it takes to keep that momentum and also to improve on that momentum. And the following 4 areas of momentum in an optometric practice should never be broken. Number 1, creativity. Always put yourself in the following situation as a practice. How can we do what we do better? Or how can this be improved? What new thing can be done? How often are new ideas being brought to the table? How do we engage one another in those new ideas? When was the last time something new and exciting was initiated by the practice? How often are risks taken that challenge the status quo? And so, are you doing that which you are still doing 5 years ago? What new thing are you doing as a practice from a creative point of view that is allowing you to engage the consumer differently? The next one here, it's hard work. It's very, very important that remember, we look at it this way. The greater the difference in competence between your staff members or between yourselves as staff members, the greater the detriment it will be for the business. So everyone needs to be on this page. Everyone needs to know that my skill level is at this point. This is what I contribute to the business. This is what I bring to the business. When I drop the ball here, it affects the overall picture as follows. And so this person does this person does this person does this, and together it forms the following results, or it produces the following results. Next thing, consistency, very, very key. This is very critical because we say here consistency sharpens the vision, builds character into the practice, strengthens and solidifies commitment levels amongst the team, creates excellence and opportunities, prevents mediocrity and procrastination, makes the organization credible and provides it with an unfair advantage, accelerates profits and required results, increases competency levels, and empowers the team. And so be consistent. If you're already on a good run, find out why you're on a good run. If you're seeing that, wait a minute, our business is improving lately. We see more patients, we're invoicing more, our revenue has increased, our products are selling across a wider range. Once you know that, or once you have identified that, wait a minute, these are the activities that are constantly taking place, then be quick to understand why that is the case. Then you be quick to make sure that you capitalize on improving those components, on growing those components, so you take it to the next level all the time. And so you have to build on that consistency, because it takes 10 years, for example, to build something, but it can take one client that you completely messed up with that can turn everything around. So you need to make sure that anytime you're dealing with a client that was not happy, you follow up with that client so much so that you can restore that relationship. You can restore that service engagement that took place so that you can win back that client. Very, very important. And that's all about consistency. That it should not be short outbursts of excellence that the practice does. It must be long-term acts of consistency all the time. And so constantly work at it. Next thing, prioritization. This is now part of the momentum strategy. And we say here, it reflects what's important in the business, determines the level and intensity of the preparations, outlines the specific plans for achieving the vision, determines what propels, gets produced, and becomes populated in the business, and ensures punctuality and completion of tasks. And so momentum is very, very key in the sense that it helps you stay on track. So what you first start with the prioritization. Once you get that right, you then introduce the momentum, making sure that the different components of momentum are in place to help you as a business, as a practice, move in the right direction, so that whenever you drop the ball on something, you see that, wait a minute, there's an area that we're not at the level at which we are supposed to be. You've got the systems, the protocols, and the processes, and the infrastructure in place to correct it with urgency. That's how you're going to be able to build on that activity plannings that you do. In actual fact, if you look at a lot of great practices that are doing exceptionally well, it's actually not about the products. It's about the people in the business. And the people, when they're operating at the high level of excellence, commitment, work ethic, it takes and elevates the business to a whole nother dimension altogether. And so I encourage you that have that as an individual, that whatever activity that you are doing, be a person that completes the activity with excellence. Be a person that you are a person of your word. When you give it an instruction, you're carrying it out with excellence all the time. And that's how you keep building on that prioritization, keep building on that momentum. Not only does it add value to your business, but it also helps you grow personally and professionally as an individual.